Last night, the IDF struck multiple Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, showing that they are not taking any violation of the current ceasefire agreement with Lebanon lightly. The question is, will the current ceasefire agreement last, or is it already over? Will Israel pull out of Southern Lebanon? Will Hezbollah disarm itself? All this and more on today's show. I'm Josiah Hilton, and this is the Israel Guys. Late last night, the IDF conducted airstrikes, hitting Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, violating the ceasefire agreement. Or did they? Because when this ceasefire deal was made, Israel made it very clear that they would respond with force to any violation of the ceasefire by Hezbollah, which, by the way, they have already done on several occasions. The Times of Israel reported the IDF made the threats known to the international mechanism set up as part of the ongoing ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hezbollah, but the threats were not addressed. So the IDF instructed its Air Force to conduct airstrikes on these threats in Lebanon. Among the targets struck were a rocket launching site, a military site, and routes along the Syria-Lebanon border used to smuggle weapons to Hezbollah. The IDF spokesperson unit said the IDF continues to act to remove any threat to the state of Israel and will operate to prevent any attempt by Hezbollah to rebuild its forces in accordance with the ceasefire understandings. Now, this is not the only time Israel has had to use military force in the recent weeks in Lebanon. Just on Saturday, the IDF conducted 2 drone strikes in Lebanon to take out threats, the second of which was actually on the Lebanese side of Mount Dov, which is right on the Israeli-Lebanese border. The IDF spotted 3 Hezbollah suspects. Both of these drone strikes were successful and the threats were neutralized. Israel is not messing around with Hezbollah anymore, especially during this ceasefire. The 60-day ceasefire agreement is almost over, and Washington is signaling to Lebanon that they are committed to keeping Israel in line to keep their side of the agreement. On Saturday, the Hezbollah-aligned newspaper Al-Akhbar reported U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein informed official sources in Lebanon that Washington promises a complete withdrawal of IDF forces in southern Lebanon before the end of the 60-day period outlined in the ceasefire deal. Also, Hochstein is demanding that the Lebanese army reinforce its units and increase its alert level, as well as reposition its forces and fill in the vacuum, and ensure that Hezbollah hands all its weapons south of the Litani River over to the Lebanese army, as per the ceasefire agreements. So Israel is supposed to withdraw all its forces from southern Lebanon by January 26th, and Hezbollah is supposed to either withdraw all its armed forces to the north of the Litani River or hand over all their weapons to the Lebanese armed forces. It is not clear how likely this deal is actually to last, as Hezbollah would have to hand over tons of weapons to the Lebanese army. This, in and of itself, seems very, very unlikely. It could happen, but does not reflect any of Hezbollah's previous mode of conduct. Also, since the new Israeli Defense Minister, Israel Katz, took control of the Defense Ministry some weeks ago, there has been a very strong no-nonsense approach, which gives the hope that Israel will not withdraw from southern Lebanon unless Hezbollah fully fulfills their side of the agreement, which, by the way, is the only sensible way for Israel to deal with Hezbollah. You see this epic tumbler sitting on my desk? What's in there? It's water. It's not. It's coffee. You see this epic tumbler? Well, you can turn this awesome tumbler sitting on my desk to an epic tumbler sitting on your desk. This is our Biblical Heartland tumbler. It is not only a great thermal beverage vessel, it is a perfect way to show your support for Judea and Samaria. The world insists on incorrectly labeling it the West Bank, but it's actually the Biblical Heartland of Israel. The thermal insulated vacuum sealed walls will keep your coffee or hot drink hot for up to 10 hours. Our team here at the Israel Guys use this favorite tumbler every single day, and it is fantastic. The laser engraved design is the touch that puts this tumbler over the top, and the Biblical Heartland tumbler is a favorite for many of our fans who have already got one. Go to theisraelguys.store or click the link in the description below to get yours today. Several Jewish legal organizations have just filed a lawsuit against outgoing U.S. President Joe Biden and other top U.S. officials on behalf of several American citizens who are residing here in Judea and Samaria. Among these American Israelis are Yitzhak Levi Filant and Issachar Man, who are both U.S. citizens living in Judea and Samaria. The U.S. government sanctioned Filant in August of 2024 for, quote, malign activities outside the scope of his authority, saying that in February of 2024, he led a group of armed settlers to set up roadblocks and conduct patrols to pursue and attack Palestinians in their land and forcefully expel them from their lands. Issachar Man was sanctioned for, quote, being a foreign person who is responsible for or complicit in or having directly or indirectly engaged in or attempted to engage in planning, ordering, otherwise directing, or participating in an act of violence or threat of violence targeting civilians affecting the West Bank. And he was also sanctioned for being responsible for, and I'm reading the actual from the quote from the State Department, being responsible for or complicit in or having directly or indirectly engaged and attempted to engage in planning, ordering, otherwise directing, or participating in seizure or dispossession of property by private actors affecting the West Bank. Wow, the State Department really covers all their bases there. So the State Department sanctioned these guys who are being accused of these things, but get this, they have not been arrested or charged with anything relating to this here in Israel. Now, if these accusations were actually true, then the justice system here in Israel would have dealt with these folks with the full force of Israeli law. Now, here's a good indicator that these allegations are completely false and these sanctions are ridiculous for the Biden administration to put in place. The lawsuit states, and I quote, "The allegations by the State Department are completely false and appear to be based on a comprehensive file submitted just days before the sanction by Democracy for Arab World Now, an organization whose board members have ties to radical Muslim Brotherhood elements and have even praised Hamas," and which, by the way, failed to correctly spell the plaintiff's Filant's surname. There you go. These American Jews living in Judea and Samaria were sanctioned by their own government because of allegations made by the organization Democracy for Arab World Now, who have ties to the Muslim Brotherhood and have praised Hamas. Also, news in Israel. Israel is back to the negotiating table for ceasefire deal talks in Doha, Qatar. Israeli officials are back in Doha for ceasefire hostage deal talks with Hamas after Netanyahu sent them back to Qatar on Saturday. There are indications that Netanyahu is trying to get a deal done before January 20th to be in good favor with Trump, who wants the hostage crisis solved before he takes office. Last night, Khan News reported that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was pressuring Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich and his religious Zionism party to support the deal. Netanyahu reportedly told Smotrich that, quote, "We cannot harm relations with the Trump administration." The question is, why would these ministers not support this deal? Well, for the simple reason that any deal which gives Hamas the way to come out of this war with Israeli hostages still in their possession, or with the IDF completely withdrawing from key security areas inside the Gaza Strip, like the Philadelphia corridor and the Netzarim corridor, that kind of deal is not a deal that secures the safety of Israeli citizens and should not be agreed to. Now, this morning, a report came out that the details for the deal have been finalized by Israel and are now waiting for Hamas's response. And I want to give you a few of the things that seem really, really bad in this deal for Israel. The complete 42-day ceasefire would see all IDF forces withdrawn from Gaza, including the Philadelphia corridor, which is on the Egyptian-Gaza border and where they stopped who knows how many weapons and ammunition being smuggled into Gaza. In the first stage of the deal, only 34 hostages would be released by Hamas, which is only a third of the hostages still being held by Hamas in Gaza. Also, for every female soldier that Hamas releases, Israel will release 50 female terrorists from Israeli prisons. If the details of this draft of the deal are actually true, then it seems Israel has capitulated on several issues that they were not willing to back down on previously, like not withdrawing from the Philadelphia corridor and with requiring Hamas to submit a list of names of living hostages that would be released in the deal before Israel would agree to this deal. Guys, let's pray that Israel does not agree to do anything that would be harmful to the long-term security of the state of Israel. Here's some good news from Samaria before we end out the show today. Israeli security forces in the area are doing their utmost to protect and prevent from more terror attacks happening against Jewish civilians. The Kedumim Council head confirmed that after the horrific terror attack last week that left 3 Israelis murdered and 6 wounded in the Arab town of Al-Fanduk, that the stores of that town, the businesses, will remain closed. After the attack last week, the IDF closed the stores in the town, and the closure was set to expire actually yesterday. The Kedumim Council chief Ozel Vatik made this statement on Saturday evening. He said, quote, "The closure order which was given and which was scheduled to expire tomorrow," which is now yesterday, "will continue, and I am in constant contact with the senior sources in the army, the police, and defense echelon, and I am working to change the security situation on the ground." To the civilians in the area, he said, "The stores in Al-Fanduk will not open tomorrow, period. In the last few days, I've been incessantly pressuring the political, military, and police echelon with one clear goal. The security situation will not return to being what it was. We will not get used to going back to routine until the next terror attack happens." It is good to see some Israeli leaders standing up and taking a no-nonsense approach when it comes to dealing with Arab terror in Judea and Samaria. Guys, thanks for watching. If you would like to volunteer in Israel this year, make sure to check out our volunteer programs throughout 2025. Go to serveisrael.com/volunteer. Also, don't forget to grab your epic Biblical Heartland tumbler using the link in the description below. Subscribe to this video, like it, and leave your comment down below. As always, stop listening to the lies and propaganda and connect with the truth of what is happening in Israel. We'll be back soon here at the Israel Guys.